What's the one thing that made HubSpot a unicorn? I'll start by saying HubSpot was never a unicorn. The kind of commonly accepted definition of a unicorn is a privately held company that has a valuation of over $1 billion. We got very close to $1 billion on the day we went public, but we weren't quite there at $1 billion. But we'll say a little bit under $1 billion. And then so we went from zero to $1 billion in roughly 8 years. And then from then to today, it's now $20 billion, somewhere up there. And the answer to what took us from zero to $1 billion and what's taken us from $1 billion to $20 billion is actually, we have this approach at HubSpot called solve for the customer. And it's easier to explain this by virtue of an example. So one of the best pieces of startup advice you will hear from me and others is that startup founders should focus on one small thing and do that one small thing really, really well, better than anybody else. And that's what kind of maximizes the probability of success. And that is exceptionally good startup advice. And that is exactly the opposite of what we did when we started HubSpot. So when we started HubSpot, we wanted to help small and medium-sized businesses get kind of leverage out of this new approach to marketing that we called inbound marketing, where you wrote blogs and used social media and SEO in order to kind of pull customers in. So that was the idea. And so we built literally like all the things. So we built a content management system and SEO tools and web analytics and a forms application, just all the things you would need to kind of go online. And so why would we do something so foolish and crazy as to try and build all those things, contrary to this exceptionally good advice of focus on one narrow thing? And the answer is we were solving for the customer. Because when we talk to these small, medium-sized customers and ask them, like, oh, are you using the internet to drive this? Are you doing this? It's like, why aren't you using WordPress? Why aren't you using Google Analytics? Why aren't you? And this is when we came to the realization the problem was not that there were not good products in each of the individual categories. The problem was that it was just too hard for mere mortal kind of small businesses to kind of really put all those pieces together and get leverage from the internet. And so that's the problem we set out to solve. So we kind of attached ourselves to this group of customers, small and medium-sized businesses, with this very specific problem, which is they were not growing as well as they could have been because they weren't really using the internet, which is an awfully cool thing to be using. And so for all of our 15 plus years now, we have kind of maniacally obsessed over that same group of customers with that same particular problem and said, okay, we will do everything we can to try and solve that problem as well as we know how to, even if that means building this kind of wide swath of products, because the integration, the all-in-one proposition is more valuable than being exceptionally good at the individual parts. So that's the one thing I would say. If you pick a group of customers that you care about that's large enough and find a problem that they have that's worth solving in their minds, not your mind, that they are willing to pay to have solved or helped with, attach yourself to that problem and that group of customers, do it over an extended period of time, iterate and do what you need to. But if you solve for the customer, it's not a bad way to go. It's worked for us.